on the last week. We had that shooting game that we were trying to make, and today we will try to just go another further step into that. We'll just make sure that we perform its second task. So I'll try to open where it is. So I'm opening the old file that we have saved. If it is somehow there. So the last file, 17th, 12th. So this was the task that we had done so far. I'll try to make sure that we are on the empty background. Okay. So this was kind of the task that we had done the other day. Let me start recording also. Yeah. So this task that we had completed, it allowed us to do very limited things. A few of those things was that it allowed us to move forward, move backwards, and we could turn our character in a direction wherever we wanted. So we also tried to fix that how our character should be turning, and for that, what we did was we went to the shooter's drawing. And the same way we had done previously, I will just put this one in the middle like that, and then I'll place its arms and the bullet just along it, like that. Now it would work or turn more comprehensively. So that's what we did with the other program as well, the other code as well. So this was the part where we had done till, and now we have to move towards the next step. And the next step is that we are going to uh, design, or you can say that we are going to program bullets. It is better that if we are using a darker background because its colors made in a way that we can see it better, more clearly in a darker background. So how do you change the background of your game is already something that we already know. So you go to this choose a backdrop button, and then you can actually choose any background that you want. So I had chosen this one because this was kind of a little darker, and my colors that I had used for my characters are kind of more vibrant. So this looks clearly visible on that. It makes this object very clear. So that is why we are using this. But we obviously can change this whenever we would want. We can change the colors of our character also. That's not a big deal. Okay. So after completing this shooter, we next need to go towards the next character, and the next character is bullet. So we need to create a bullet character, and once we have created that, we are going to make sure that that character is proportionate to size of your shooter. So you go to the shooter, you're going to go to the costumes, just zoom in closer to the bullet like that. Pick up a circle and draw a bullet. A bullet is basically something a circular object, nothing more, nothing less. And you can change the color of your bullet as per your requirements. I would suggest that we choose this bright orange color of the bullet. Uh, it's not very bright, so you can increase the saturation to make it brighter. First, you would have to select this. Sorry that I had not selected it. So first you would select it, and then you would just increase its brightness, and it's going to become increase its saturation, and it's going to become brighter. Okay, more colorful, more vibrant. Also, this may be it's better that if I keep it a little bigger, something like that. Yeah. And now if you want to add some more sort of shapes in that, what you can do is simply pick up a line tool and draw some lines like that. Maybe that is something that you can do, and you can change its color also. Make it to choose a fill color like this one, and maybe remove its outline if you want. And now you can just use it to give depth to your bullet. So maybe the bullet looks like this now. Okay. Also, what you can do is you can reform your bullet also, deform it. And for deforming, you can use this form tool. You can add nodes wherever you want, and then bring a node, something like that. Maybe make another few nodes there, drag them like that. So now this is what your bullet fire is going to look like. But as you know that this is very small, but if you see it on the larger scale, you see it behaves differently. It works differently. Now all you need is this is exactly is the place where you would want your bullet to be when you start the game. So you are going to select the selection tool, cut this bullet. You can't cut it from here, right? There is no cut option here, but you can press Control and X on your keyboard to cut it. And then you can paint a new sprite and just paste it there directly, nothing else. And it's going to be pasted where you would want your bullet to be when you start the game. So now when you press the flag,
How would I paint it?
sorry,
I'm saying that you like put a new screen after that to paint it. So what did you do? I wasn't able to see that.
what I did was I chose this option which says paint a sprite. So I am basically creating a new character. The bullet is basically a second character. It's not a part of your previous character, the shooter. It's a new character. Okay. Shooter is a separate character. You're not placing bullet with the shooter. You made the bullet alongside the shooter so that you can just adjust its size and position, maybe. But you are placing the bullet on another screen, not on the same screen as you can say the shooter. You are putting the bullet as a separate character. It does not have anything to do with the shooter in the first phase. All we what we but why I made this character here was because I wanted to adjust its size first and wanted to see that how does it look like with the shooter. So that is why I made it on the same page. Once I had made it here, what I did was I just simply cut that by pressing Control X on my keyboard and selecting the object first. Maybe if I press Control here. So what I did was I somehow that is something I did. Let me show that to you once again so that it's clear to you. So we made a bullet here like that, right? So this is how we made a bullet. We had made a bullet here on this page. Okay. Now what I want is I want to use this as a separate character. So for that, what I did was I got my selection tool here, clicked on this bullet uh, drawing that I have made. I would press Control X on my keyboard, which would cut this bullet from here, and then you can just paste it somewhere else. So in order to paste it, I want to paste it as a new character. So that is why I'm going to go to the sprite option and click here, which says paint. This will help me to paint a new sprite, a new character, and that new character is basically the bullet. So now I have pasted the bullet here and see this, that when I want this bullet to go to 0, 0, it would basically come closer to that bullet that we had already had there. Okay, so it's closer to the gun now. Okay, so that is why I had made it here on a separate, you can say, uh, point. Now, what we want from this bullet is that we want this bullet to be shot every time a certain button is pressed. And what happens when the bullet is shot? We are going to program that. So first, let's program that how do we shoot this bullet. So we are going to shoot this bullet through the shooter. We are going to tell the shooter to shoot a bullet. So we would tell a shooter that bullets can be shot by using a certain button. And we know the principle of that. All we need to do is use an if then block. And in this if then block, what we need to do is we need to tell our uh, if then block that it needs to sense if someone has pressed a space key. A space key must be at the top. Yes, the first is the space one. So if someone presses the space key, we would want the bullet to be shot, right? So in order to shoot the bullet, what we are going to do is, see, your bullets are basically one character. So if you shoot bullet and if the character starts moving, it is not going to come back on its position, or even if it does, it's going to take a lot of time for it to process this thing. So what we want is we want this character, bullet, to create its copies. Every time you press a space button, you would want a copy of the bullet is created. Copy is basically something that you know as clone in Scratch. In Scratch, if you want to make the copy or a duplicate of a character, you call it clone. So you would say that if, for this shooter, if key space is pressed, we might want to create a duplicate of the bullet. So we can create the duplicate of a bullet by choosing this block. It's in the control blocks and it says create clone of. So it is going to create clone of bullet. So once you would do that, it would create a clone of the bullet, right? Now we will tell what happens when this bullet starts as a clone. When this bullet starts as a clone, it's going to simply do one thing, that is forever move. That's it. Now you press space and you see that the bullet starts moving. But there is a problem. The bullet is static at one place. It is not turning with the direction of my character. Also, if I keep my character away, it does not go away, it stays there. So maybe I need to figure out something that through which I can make sure that this character first, bullet character, follows the shooter. Wherever the shooter goes, the bullet goes into that direction, go into that place, let's say. So now, for this thing, what we can do is we can always use a very simple block, and that simple block can be used under the flag. So when you will press the flag button, something is going to happen that would allow your character to follow the bullet or follow the shooter or something. First, you would ask it to go to 0, 0. And after that, you are going to ask it to always. When we say the word always, it means that we are going to use forever. So forever, it's going to follow the shooter. So we would say that always go to shooter. Now you would see what happens when I press the flag again. Now I go back, the bullet goes backwards. I go forward, the bullet moves forward, right? Now let's say if we did this, that, okay, Zayan, tell me one thing. If we want to make this game kind of little more realistic, does the bullet always stays outside the gun or it stays inside the gun?
You just stay inside the gun.
So if we keep on watching this bullet outside the gun, does it make sense?
No, it looks weird.
It looks weird. So what we can do is we can make our bullet to hide when we start the game. Fine, that's good. But then we can ask it to just reappear whenever it works as a clone. So now the bullet is not there, but once you shoot, it shows up. Now, is that fine? Now we are
Yes.
only left with one problem with the bullet. It does not turn. The bullet is not turning in the direction of your character, but it's following actually where your character is going. It's going there, but it's not following the direction of your character. So we can fix that. We can fix that by introducing a variable here. The variable generally we do that for uh, variables we generally use for like the values that can change their values, that can change themselves. So likewise, this person, this shooter can face in any direction. So that is why I want to have um, uh, that is why I want to have this variable which can identify its direction at any certain point. So for that, I'm going to ask it to make a variable. Okay, and I'm going to call it direction. So this gives this character a certain direction. And now what happens is that if we want to use this direction and we have already coded our shooter to identify its direction, and it turns 10 degrees and it turns 10 degrees in the left also. So let's see that what happens when you turn 10 degrees. So currently this character is at 50. Let's say that if I turn 10 degrees, it makes it to 60. So it means that when I'm turning towards this side, it is increasing the direction. So I would say that change direction by 10. So increase that direction by 10. And also I can see that what happens when I press this one. When this happens, the direction decreases. So I can ask my program to change to turn when it turns left 10 degrees, it can change direction by minus 10 of the object. And as we are starting with point in direction 90, so this would also mean that we can set the direction to 90 also. So once you would start, the direction of your character is at 90. The next thing that you want now is that your bullet follows this direction. So there is a block which says point in direction. We are going to use that one. Here it is. We are going to say point in direction and tell our program to always point in the direction of direction. Whichever the value of direction is, just point in that direction. Now let's see what happens. I would want this character to be shown first. So I want to just see that if it is working fine. Yeah, now it can shoot in any direction, right? Okay. Now, Zan, tell me one more thing. What is happening when the bullet gets the wall? What happens there? The
It
bullet is
starts going
not
forward.
disappearing, right? It starts moving on another direction, but it is not disappearing. We can program our bullets that they can disappear as soon as they touch the touch the wall. So for that, we are going to again use the control block, which is if then. And through this if then, we are going to identify through sensing that if it touches edge, if the bullet touches the edge, what is going to happen?
Hide.
Yes, hide is something that we can also do, but we would say that let's say this was a clone that was created, so why not delete this clone so that it disappears? Okay, so now press the flag again. Now you can see I press space, the bullets are fired. As soon as it touches the wall, the bullets disappear, right? But there is one last problem that we need to fix for this bullet code and the shooter code. That is, if you look at the bullets that are being fired, if I press the space button, there is a continuous stream of bullets that is being fired. So even if you press space for one short time, it is highly likely that it's going to fire more than 2 or 3 bullets, more than one bullet in any case. It's very likely that it is going to fire more than one bullets every time you press space. So you can fix this up. You can fix this up by limiting your character that it cannot shoot more than one bullets at a time by asking it to wait for some time before creating a new clone. So you can tell your character to wait. Where do we get the wait? We get wait in controls block. So we can ask our character to wait for, let's say, 0.2 seconds every time it tries to create a clone of bullet. So create a clone of bullet and wait 2 seconds, and then again check if the key space is being pressed. Now, let's run that again. Now, if I keep on pressing this space button also, you would see that it's not a continuous stream. And when I press space one time, it only fires one bullet. It can't fire more than one bullet at the same time. There is some gap between the bullets. If I just take this one out, and you see the difference. So this is the difference that this button is going to have. Also, you can see what direction is your character facing in right now, and you don't want this direction to be here maybe. Okay. So what you can do is go to controls, go to variables. And when you see this direction block, direction variable that we have created, just uncheck that. Now this character can't be shown on screen. You check that and it would appear on screen. Okay. I would like you to complete this today, Zan. So this is the code for your shooter. And this is the code for the bullet. The code for the bullet is kind of simpler as compared to the code of the shooter. But code of the shooter is also not very complicated. It's easy to comprehend how this works.